pleased to have the ranking member of the full committee, Senator
Thank you.
Sorry to say Capito, Senator Cantwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you and to the ranking member for holding this important hearing and for our witnesses being here. We have obviously made air traffic control staffing a major priority in the last aviation bill, and we are continuing to make it a major priority. I want an FAA who does slow down traffic when they think it's necessary, as exhibited by the very unfortunate tragedy that we had at DCA. So I hope that we'll continue to close safety gaps, and I hope we will continue to invigorate air traffic controllers. I think the question that we have, maybe for you, Mr. Sununu or Mr. Daniels, last year when we required the FAA to set a maximum hiring target through FY 2028 to maximize training capacity for controllers, it would require the FAA to do this for 5 years through 2033. Do you support and agree that we must ensure that FAA continues its maximum controller hiring for at least the next 10 consecutive years, and that the FAA is then in a better position to offset retirements? So either Mr. Daniels first and then Mr. Sununu.
First, great to see you, Senator, and thank you for the support, especially when it comes to FAA reauthorization and the SAFE Act in the shared airspace. We truly appreciate that. As far as it goes, yes, it absolutely needs to be the long-term commitment to the hiring and training of the next generation of air traffic controllers. And that 10 years is critical for us to not only modernize the system, but ensure that air traffic controllers have a full staffing complement to take on the next generation of aviation, which is going to be through autonomous vehicles, drones, and otherwise. And that's going to be a new challenge that presents itself, but this workforce will be ready and up for it as long as the commitment stays there to ensure that they have all the bodies that are needed.
Thank you.
And I would just add 100%. I mean, and making sure that they're funded and paid and all that, that should be the low bar. I think making sure that you don't disincentivize people from coming into the industry, as Mr. Daniel was highlighting earlier, not just when seeing folks walk away from the academy during the shutdown. How do you go into a high school and encourage someone who's about to graduate to get excited about aviation, get excited about the industry when the headline every single day is you don't get paid? So I think the concern is not just did we see negative effects over the last 6 weeks, but that is going to have, unfortunately, negative reverberations unless we jump on top of the messaging. We ensure the American public that not just the appropriation bill that we're looking at moves forward, but Senator Moran's bill is real. Everyone gets behind it. We make sure that this just cannot happen again, because otherwise the uncertainty added to the system could be really detrimental for years to come.
I have 2 more questions for you. So one, did the airlines comply with what the Secretary requested?
Oh yeah, look, the airlines made every good faith effort. In those first days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I think they had to meet a 4% cancellation. I think on Sunday we were over 10 because it was such a logistics nightmare.
You think there's data that shows that? There's data that shows that?
Yeah, they were over 10%. I think, I mean, I can pick individual. I think Delta at one point hit 16% the following Monday, something like that. And what they realized is, you know what, if they had to hit, let's say 4 or 6%, I think Monday it hit 6%, they realized, okay, we're gonna plan for a few percent below that. Why? Because it could be a maintenance issue or a weather issue, just the natural other cancellations they realized they had to kind of build in to the calculus so they didn't over cancel. And then as the week went on, it wasn't just, well, just take that one flight down. Well, when you take the flight from Boston to Washington down, that means the Washington, Kansas City to LA, and LA back to Chicago flights can't happen either. So moving the assets around, consolidating those customers, and the crews, because there's laws and regulations and protections around those crews. A crew from a 737 can't jump in a 787. The flight crew from that flight can't just jump on that one because they need a break. They need time off. So it got very complex.
Yeah, it's very complex. But I am interested in some analysis of this and some information, because I think we might have also found some optimization of the system. And I do think that we push sometimes to get maximum, like the DCA. I'm sure we'll hear from NTSB in January about the flow of traffic into DCA the night of the crash. And was there too much flow in, and should it have been slower? And then the warning bells that basically air traffic controllers had said went off for months and months and months unheeded because there was too much going on. So I'm I am curious if we ended up actually having like optimization, like if we had more on-time flight arrivals, because we weren't pushing it, we were actually, the system can be optimized at a certain level of service delivery. Now, that isn't a moneymaker that isn't like maximizing profits to the nth degree, but there probably is a system that is calibrated in the right way to make sure that you have more on-time performance, and certainly on the safety side. I want to ask you about, you guys, A4A, and I know you're new at this, and we welcome you in that capacity. We are encouraged by the Department of Transportation reviewing unnecessary burden regulations exceeding their authority. I'm talking about this issue of our authority directed to DOT to take care of secondary rules, secondary costs on hotels and meals. What happened is the Southwest meltdown left my constituents, the Rainier Beach basketball team, Coach Bethea, his wife, had to pay thousands of dollars of out-of-pocket expenses. You remember the meltdown that winter, and they were stuck in Las Vegas, had to pay all these out-of-pocket expenses. So we said, let's not have this happen again, and let's come up with rules for secondary cost in these situations. And so I think the administration is trying to scrap that consumer product rule. I'm saying that's a bad idea, you need to do it. But it seems like A4A is cheerleading them.
Yeah, so if we're talking about two things. Number one, I do want to address is there a system where everything can be optimized? There absolutely is, and it costs $31.5 billion, and we appreciate the first $12.5 billion. The technologies with that next $19 billion are going to be absolutely phenomenal. You're talking about efficiency, more Americans traveling, safer. It'll be amazing, and so I think everyone appreciates that. On the deregulation aspects, yeah, there's no doubt some regulations have come into play in the last 4 years or so, kind of prior to 2025, that frankly didn't make any sense, not for the industry, but even for the consumer. They were punitive. They would have raised cost on the consumer. There were instances where the industry was going to have to pay tens of thousands of dollars for act of God type situations. And we simply said, look, every law and every rule that's on the books, we always comply to on the consumer protection side. We never overlook that.
Did you want this rolled back, is what I'm asking. Are you asking this rule that came into effect, we all wrote it here and said, put this in the bill, that have the administration think of these secondary costs and have a rulemaking on it, because it is complex. I mean, what happened was far more than just a winter meltdown. Some airlines were better prepared to address the concerns of constituents and give them information about when they might be able to get on a flight and how they might be able to get home. And then other airlines were very ill prepared because they never invested in the technology.
Yeah.
And that was the frustration, so.
No, I would simply say, yeah, so I think the concern is having those rules in place is very important. Making sure we're not creating one-size-fits-all structures based on that one winter storm, which was devastating. As you pointed out, some airlines did it very well, some airlines didn't. There was a lot of complexity in it. We just want to make sure that the rules are there and they fit the need of the moment, and they're not so broad-based that they crush the consumer with higher costs.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, one more. I don't see any of my colleagues waiting in line here on either side, so thank you. We have a bunch of people here with us today. And we've tried to deal with this issue 2 or 3 times, and it's really frustrating. The people who are ramp workers at airports clean our planes. They help with the security of the system. They are part of the aviation system. We tried during COVID to help them and met with huge opposition, even though we worked very hard in about 25 days to come up with a plan to help the airline industry survive during COVID. We tried in the last FAA authorization bill to also resolve the issue. And the issue is these people, they're not falling through the cracks when it comes to cleaning the planes and servicing our airports and taking people in wheelchairs and getting them to locations. They're not falling, they're doing their job. But everybody acts like they are an island where they just appeared somewhere. They're not. They're part of this ecosystem. They are part of the aviation ecosystem, and they deserve to have health care. I do not want them coming on a plane sick. The whole point of getting on the plane, trying to make it not an unhealthy environment, why do you want the plane cleaned by people who are sick? So will you commit to work with me to find a solution to resolve this issue and help us get some compensation for the healthcare workers that are only people at the airport? Everybody else, flight attendants, stewards, people who work in the coffee shop, everybody else in this entire system has healthcare, but these people, and everybody dodges it because they think that it's not their problem. But they are part of the delivery system and they deserve healthcare. Will you work with me on this?
Yeah, look, in terms of the healthcare issue, obviously it's a giant issue, and it doesn't affect the airline industry. It affects 350 million Americans, of course. So, but I'm here to represent the airlines and making sure that the airlines are safe, they're moving on time, that we don't get caught in the political side of things, and not the airlines, that the American public doesn't get caught on the political side of things. But those discussions have to happen. Those solutions have to be brought to bear on the healthcare side.
It's not the political side. They are part of the a plane can't just come and land without somebody cleaning it, okay? The airport and that sector work together to try to have the security team, the cleaning team, the maintenance team, everybody have a robust system. So I think what happens here is everybody points the finger to somebody else that, oh, there are contract workers. So there are contract workers, so we don't have to provide health care. And
Well, I would say, if I may, for those workers, they obviously don't work directly for the airlines per se, but if there are contractors or
they
they're
they are contracted through airlines.
and-
That's the issue. And then the contractors don't deliver the care.
Yeah, and I
Don't
would look to
deliver
their
health.
unions as well. I mean, a lot of them are represented by unions, and I would imagine that they need to make sure that they're incorporating that thing. But yeah, we're part of the big ecosystem, and we know we're the
You
big
will work
dogs. So
with me.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.